All right, guys. Happy, man, I don't even know what day it is. Thursday. It's Thursday over in America. I'm in Bali right now, so it's Friday morning for me. But welcome everybody. Wherever you are, wherever you're at, wherever you're tuning in from, let me know in the comments. Thanks, Coach. I've been growing it out. I don't think I like it too much. But we're in Bali. Coach, how you doing in Arizona, man? You getting lonely over there? Not at all. Coach is tuning in from the Land Insights office right now. Hopefully he didn't burn it down. All right, guys. So today we will be talking about the first 6 months in the land business. So we're going to be going over my personal first 6 months in the land business, what I did to be successful. And I'm going to talk about the changes that have happened since that first 6 months. That was back in 2021. So it's been a long time since then. Markets have shifted a ton. Strategies have shifted a ton. And honestly, we're in a better situation, I believe, nowadays than I was back in 2021. But yeah, there are pros and cons of this shift. And I'll also be talking about some exciting news we're launching with Land Insights, Land Insights Starter and Land Insights Lite. So guys, check out the link, landinsights.co/launch. We will be launching in less than 3 days now a free subscription plan for Land Insights, as well as a starter plan with some discounts to data when you're transitioning from the free account. So these plans are primarily made for people in their first 6 months in the land business, people who are just starting out, people on a budget, looking to enter the market, maybe test out their first deal or get at least 2 deals under their belt before they feel comfortable really sinking their heels into the business and going all in. Because I know a lot of you maybe are testing the waters of land business, not sure if it really works yet, not sure if you're meant for it. So these plans that we're releasing, these are for you guys. So please go ahead and check out landinsights.co/launch. We're giving away 3 pieces of land on the 30th. So Sumner and I will be going live on this YouTube channel, giving away 3 pieces of land, 1 piece in New Mexico, 1 piece in Arkansas, and 1 piece in Colorado. So we're giving away land throughout the country. So in order to sign up for that, in order to be qualified for that launch and those pieces of land, you need to check out the link, sign up, and follow the steps that will be emailed to you in order to be qualified for those pieces of land. So stay tuned and mark the 30th on your calendars. That's when we'll be giving away these 3 pieces of land. All right, guys, I know we've got more coming in to the stream. Wherever you guys are at, let me know. Where are you at in the world? I'm gonna go grab her water real quick before we start. We got David Gear from Alabama. What's up, David? We are buying a piece out in Tuscaloosa. I'm not sure where in Alabama you're at right now, but we've been buying up a lot of Tuscaloosa lately. I actually own a trailer park out there right now. Yeah, I love that area. We just bought like I think it's a 0.3 acre infill lot in like the worst part of town in Tuscaloosa for $3,000. It's probably worth 15, but I have doubts it's going to sell that quickly. It's probably going to sit for a while, but you can't lose on a $3,000 piece of land that's buildable in Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide. Man, getting there was a pain. I flew into, shoot, where was it? Birmingham, and then I had to rent a car and then drive all the way out there to look at that trailer park before I bought it. That was a pain in the ass. But I love the good old South. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So, first 6 months in the land business, I'm going to go over my situation in the first 6 months in my land business back in 2021. And then I'll go over kind of how things have changed and how you can strategize to be successful in 2025 and going into 2026. So I'll talk about my situation. I always feel it's good to tell a story to kind of explain how I was successful and kind of my thought process when entering the land business. So back in 2020, I came across Sumner. We had some mutual friends from back home. We're actually from the same hometown. And I followed Sumner on Instagram and I saw him posting about buying desert squares in Colorado and Arizona for a couple $1,000 and selling them for $10,000. So maybe doubling or tripling your money on these pieces of land in the middle of nowhere. And at the time I was hustling. I was in engineering school at a school called Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. It's a little polytechnic engineering school in Central California. And I was hustling. I was trying to make some money to pay for rent, to just afford living expenses. And basically what I was doing, I was hustling on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, buying up surfboards, buying them for a couple $100, cleaning them up, taking the wax off the boards, taking a bunch of chemicals of the board, make it look white again. Because as you know, surfboards, they kind of turn yellow over time. I was trying to make them turn white again, removing the wax, taking really good pictures, photoshopping the pictures to make it look even better, and then generally tripling my money on those surfboards. And that was kind of my introduction to business, my introduction to sort of capitalism, running my own business, turning cash over quickly. And if you think about it, that business model is very, very similar to the land flipping business model. You're searching for a deal, you're entering a marketplace, you're making offers, you're hardballing, you're negotiating. And my strategy was funny. I would message these people on Facebook and I would say, hey, I know you got it listed for $600. Would you do 400? And they might come back maybe, hey, I'll do 450. I'd show up in person. I'd find some additional nicks on the board, maybe a couple dings on the board, and I would negotiate even more. So I would call it the double negotiation technique, because most people, they can't say no in person. You build rapport with them. They've already showed up. So that was a little bit of a tactical business move. I wouldn't say ethical, but it worked out for me. And I was able to turn about like $1,500 in my bank account to $18,000 over time. I did a couple car flips in the interim, used some of that money to spend at the bars, buy a couple 30 racks. And eventually I had like $17,000 or $18,000 saved up. in my bank account. And I was looking for the next step. Honestly, like if I kept doing that land business, or sorry, that surfboard business, I probably would have made a good salary of like $100,000 a year doing it. If I really locked in and tried doing it, I could have made most than what engineers make nowadays. So that was a interesting introduction to the business. I actually considered opening up a surf shop. But at the time when I was deep in this, I was doing school and I was doing this surfboard business on the side. Came across Sumner, who was doing these flips, and he made it look so easy. And it was back in 2020, and it was easy to do this business back in 2020. It was easy to make money off of any piece of land you bought. Everybody wanted to buy land off you. Stimulus checks were going around. So people were all over Facebook. People were, it was COVID. People were just on the internet, not doing anything else. So they were on Facebook looking at stuff to buy because money was circulating. So I came across Sumner, and he was doing all these flips, showing us case studies on these deals he was doing. I was like, screw the surfboard business. I'm going into this. This is the same exact strategy, but it is a larger asset, and you can do it remotely. The bottleneck in my business, in the surfboard business, was I had to be there in person. Whereas there was no bottleneck to the land business. You can do it from your computer anywhere in the world. I'm in Bali right now on the other side of the world, and we're still buying up and selling land like crazy. So nothing changes. So that was the goal. I wanted to create a life where I could be anywhere in the world, not be attached to time, not be attached to any place, and make more money than an engineer. That was my goal back then. So yeah, I hit up Sumner. He wasn't coaching at the time. He was like kind of doing it on the side. I messaged him like, hey, would you be interested in coaching at all? And I was a little hesitant to enter the business and kind of do it on my own. So I hit him up and say, hey, can I cold call for you? And he's like, why not? And I was like, all right, let's split the profits. If I bring in a deal, we're going to split it like 50-50. He said, okay, sounds good. So I hit the phones for like a couple weeks, and I was like, screw this. I'm not doing cold calling. Our strategy was all messed up. I was calling from my iPhone. I had no dialer. The skip trace phone numbers were bad. The data was coming from a bad data source. So it wasn't working out for a while. So I took a back step and didn't end up getting coaching at that moment. And then come later in 2021, I hit up Sumner again. I had more money saved up. And I said, hey, I'm just going to pay you to coach me. I want to go do it on my own. I want to send a mailer. Because at the time, mailers were working incredibly. And he was seeing a lot of success from mail. So I was like, Sumner, I'm going to pay you some cash. Teach me how to do this. So anyways, I paid him some cash, and I had, again, like $18,000 saved up at the time. And this is kind of where I messed up, but it still worked out at the time. The strategy worked out at the time. I thought that I needed to pay cash for my first deal. So I instantly put my buy box between $0 and like $14,000 to $15,000 to buy land. So I was like, okay, if I have $14,000, up to $14,000 to buy land, that means I can only spend $4,000 on marketing total. But honestly, I think my first campaign, I spent about $2,500 on marketing. So I think I sent around like 5,000 letters. And 5,000 letters at the time, that could get you like 4 to 5 deals. Whereas nowadays, that's getting you about like 1 good deal in this market. So we worked together. At the time, we didn't have any market research strategy going on. We were just scanning Redfin and Zillow looking for kind of heated up submarkets at the time. And I arrived on Yavapai County, Arizona. And if you guys know Northern Arizona at all, you all know it's a horrible market. But at the time in 2021, it didn't really matter. Wherever you bought land, somebody was going to buy it. But in 2025, that deal would have sat on the market for over a year before it sold. So I'm just going to show you guys this market to give you context on where I went wrong. All right, so we're in Land Insights here, and we're gonna go to good old Arizona. Coach is somewhere in here. What's up, Coach? All right, so we've got Yavapai County, Arizona. So if you guys know Arizona at all, Prescott's a really good market. Camp Verde, that's like a low-income area, Cottonwood low-income area. We got like Flagstaff and Sedona over here. So like the only really good market in this entire area is like Prescott. Well, it's hard to get deals in Prescott. But where I marketed to was all the way over here in the middle of nowhere where nobody lives. There's a ton of land. You zoom in, you're going to see vacant land everywhere and no development going on. I didn't know that was a red flag at the time. And to be honest, there was no education out there on market research at all. So I was just left in the dark, and I kind of just chose a place on the map, marketed to it, and I ended up lucky because it was 2021. But anyways, I'm going to show you why this is a bad market and why I would never hit this again. We're looking at 5,000 to 10,000 acres. So we're looking at all the listings out there. So there are 929 listings in Yavapai County, Arizona right now between 5,000 and 10,000 acres. That is a lot of land for sale. There's way too much for sale. How is anyone ever going to see your listing out there when you list land for sale? There are 194 that sold in the last 6 months and 405 that sold in last year. So this market is taking over 2 years to turn over, which is horrible. So there's way too much supply and there's not enough demand to keep up with it. So this market's really jacked up. And even at the time, that market still looked like that. But I just got lucky because I marketed it on Facebook. Everyone was on Facebook during COVID. I sold the piece of land. So I'm going to actually zoom into the deal I did. So if you guys remember, I had like $16,000 left after my marketing. So I spent about $2,500 on my mail. And what I did was I used a platform called Offers to Owners. If you guys know Offers to Owners for sending mail, it is very, very expensive. All of us use Rocket Print and mail nowadays. That's usually the most affordable. I'm sure there might be like slightly cheaper options out there, but Rocket Print and mail, they're reliable. And I've been using them for a long time now. Yeah, I used a company called Offers to Owners, spent a lot of money on mail. And I got my data from a data source called PropStream. If you guys know PropStream at all, their data can be years outdated. It's not very reliable. And when you're sending mail, you're spending about almost 60 cents per letter nowadays on mail. If you have bad data sources, like you're just going to be throwing away that money. And if you're not scrubbing out your data, you're not removing bad properties, again, you're throwing out that money. Each letter is 60 cents, that adds up. And from my research, if you're not even scrubbing data, 54% of your properties on average are going to be properties you would never want to buy for one of the reasons. Maybe it's landlocked, maybe it's on a steep slope, maybe there's a wetland, a flood zone. Maybe it's owned by somebody like Walmart that would never sell to you because they're a corporate company. So there's many reasons. Maybe the data source said it was vacant land. Maybe the county said it was vacant land, but there's actually a house on it, and you just undershot the offer way too much because there's a house on it. So 54% on average, if you're not scrubbing out data with AI, you're just throwing away your mail. So if you spent $10,000 on mail, that means you just threw away $5,400 if you didn't remove your data. So that's why it's important to use AI nowadays. Back then, we didn't have that. I didn't know any better data source than PropStream at the time, which is like going back to what I'm saying, the data, it's not clean. But it didn't really matter at the time because mail was doing really well. You could get like 5 deals from 5,000 letters back then, whereas now it's more competitive. There's more people mailing. You need to use all the advantages you have, all the tools you have, which I'm jealous that you guys have starting out nowadays, because back then we didn't have that. So I'm going to go zoom in on this deal. I actually remembered the parcel number by heart because I was so worried about this deal when I bought it. I was looking at it every day, asking myself, what am I doing? Because I didn't believe in the business yet. 301-17010D. So this is the property that I bought. Excuse my Wi-Fi. It's a little slow out here in this side of the world. All right, here's this deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove my flood zone. So if we zoom in here, this is the dirt road. Let's see if we can get a better view of it. Barely drivable. I don't think anyone drives it. I don't see any houses out here. So this piece of land, if you guys have driven across the country, kind of like through the Sun Belt, Highway 40 is what connects the whole country together. You can drive Highway 40 from California all the way to the East Coast. So that was like one benefit, but this property is off this beaten path. There's nothing being developed. There's no power lines anywhere. And it's probably landlocked. Actually, it is landlocked. So I bought a landlocked piece of land. This would be extremely difficult to sell nowadays. But anyways, I made an offer of $13,944. So this was my purchase and this is my sell. So again, like this was kind of normal back then. You could buy it December 20th, sell it February 1st for an absolute piece of useless dirt. Again, we're still seeing like these turnarounds, but it has to be a good piece of land in a really good market. But in this market nowadays, this property would have taken like a year to sell. Yeah, this is the first piece of land I bought. But this probably would have been removed as AI nowadays because it's landlocked. There's no public road. And I wouldn't have marketed to it because the market research and Land Insights would have told me not to do it. But anyways, this is what I did. I turned that into $30,000 real quick. This was my own money I put into the deal. As you can see, it was under my personal name, which was a bad idea at the time. Definitely don't do that. But yeah, that was like my entrance into the business. I was in college at the time and I had just turned that money into $30,000 and I thought I just cured cancer for myself. So yeah, that's kind of the history from there. I think I bought a few more deals in this county from that mailer. They were smaller pieces. They were like 5-acre pieces, a couple acre pieces. And yeah, I was able to turn over money pretty quickly. But over the next year, I started noticing a change before anybody else. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. I started noticing a change like over the next year from that deal. Deals were selling slower. Facebook was getting harder to sell deals. I didn't know you could list land on the MLS. And I didn't know you can do it yourself. I didn't know you can use like a brokerage MLS and list it yourself and field the calls from interested realtors. I didn't even know at the time that you could get deal funding. I thought you had to go reach out to like a private equity firm to get money. And nobody was really marketing at the time that they're land funders. Nowadays in 2025, there's tons of land funders. If you look up on the internet, I need money for my land deal, there's going to be a bunch of websites that show up people that fund specific land deals. So I didn't know that you could just put all of your personal capital towards marketing and then have people partner with you. And if I were to start in the business today, I would have used that $18,000 I had saved up and focused strictly on marketing. I wouldn't have put any money towards my personal deals. Nowadays, if you're putting money towards your personal deals, especially starting out, it's a bad idea. At my scale, we're running a big operation, and I personally fund other people's deals as well. All of my deals are self-funded, unless it's a big, maybe multi six-figure deal or $1 million deal. I might get some outside capital if I can't do any type of seller finance or any type of loan. But for the most part, I'm personally funding my deals. But in the beginning, like if you're under like a 200K net worth, I would just focus on marketing, and I would not put any money towards my personal deals, because if you guys understand correctly, the land business, it's a marketing business, and your mindset should follow that. The land business is all marketing. If you can figure out marketing, you can figure out sales, you're going to do really well. Because capital, that's easy to get. It's an email away. It's a phone call away. It's a text away to get capital for your deals. But nobody's going to put money into your marketing. That's where all your money needs to go. So if you can bring a deal, anyone's going to bring you money. But no one's going to hand you marketing on a silver platter. So just have that mindset shift. So anyways, I'm going to talk about a couple different situations I'm seeing in the land business today. So there's kind of like two different mindsets and two different situations that I see coming into the land business nowadays. And I'm heavily involved in talking to these people since I'm involved with Leah and Land Insights. So if you guys remember my situation, I came in with $18,000 to my name, which is a little higher than what I tend to see nowadays. Generally, there's people that come in from maybe a high-paying W-2 in the land business, and these are generally like the most successful people, or the most common people, and generally pretty successful people are people with high-paying W-2s. They may have like $50,000 to come into this business, and that's a really good situation to be in. Whereas there's a different cohort of people, and these people being like, hey, I have like $2,000 to $3,000 to bring into this land business. If I mess up, I'm out, and I have to go save up if I just totally flunk my marketing, and I'll come back maybe in a year. So those are like the kind of the two cohorts: the people who have a lot of cash to put to action, and people who have like one bullet in the chamber. So I'm going to talk about strategy for both these people. I'm sure there's many of you in each of these cohorts. So let's talk about strategy that works nowadays and what I would do in each situation. Okay, so let's talk about the guy with $2,000 to spend on marketing. So it's been difficult to help these people in the past, but in a couple of days, we'll be able to help you very easily. So if you got $2,000 to your name, you're not putting that to land. You're not putting that to anything. You need to put that all into your marketing. So there's basically two different marketing strategies you can choose if you got $2,000 to put into marketing. One being direct mail, and the other being cold call. So I've seen a lot more people going into cold call nowadays. If you can get a good dialer, if you can get cheap skip tracing, and you can get good clean data, it's a good strategy. It's really cheap, and you can just do it on your own and not spend a whole lot of money and touch a lot of sellers and have a lot of conversations. With mail, if you got $2,000, you got about 4,000 pieces of mail you can send out. So you're going to need to be a little more strategic with that. So let's talk about cold call. So if you got cold call 2 days from now, you got $2,000 to spend. What I would do is I would go deep on market research. I would watch a lot of our content on market research. You can look up Land Insights market research. You can look up market research on this YouTube, Sumner Healey, and figure out kind of like the frameworks we use, get familiar with sell-through rate, get familiar with supply and demand that we talk about, and try to do it on your own. Maybe build your own spreadsheet of markets that you're finding through Redfin or Zillow, and just look for markets that are high demand, low supply, not Yavapai County, Arizona. Look for stuff in growing areas throughout the country that have a supply maybe under 100 pieces of property, and maybe there's 100 pieces of land selling in the last year. That's telling us there's a 1-year supply, and it's a limited supply on the market right now. You also want to look at Zillow. Look at listings that were listed well at a good price. If there's a lot of saved likes on Zillow, there's a lot of views as well. That shows you it's a good market. If the days on market is lower on a lot of these good listed sold properties, that tells us, hey, selling over quickly. People are getting offers very quickly. So we want to target those markets. I didn't do any of that in Yavapai County, Arizona. I kind of just chose a place on the map that I kind of knew, went after it, and got lucky. You do not want to do that nowadays. Okay. So if you're doing cold call, I would choose maybe like 8,000 data points throughout the country, and I would cold call those to start with. And I would just add that to one main sheet, look up a dialer that's a multi-dialer that works, and keep circulating through that skip trace list. So I would put that money towards pulling the data and skip tracing the data, calling it. So that's one strategy. That would be your cold call strategy, and the other one being direct mail. So again, you're kind of lacking market research. You don't really have that guidance. So be very careful with where you're choosing markets. Make sure you're very confident. Maybe you can use ChatGPT to help you out with that market research, but also you need to be looking at Zillow and Redfin to look at that turnover, look at those days on markets on that list, on those listings, because that'll tell you like true demand. So yeah, in 2 days, you'll be able to pull data with the free subscription. So you'll be able to go into Land Insights. You'll be able to choose a market. So let's say you came across a random market in the South. Let's say you wanted to pull Coffee County, Alabama. You can go do that with the free subscription. So you can go in, you can create your free subscription with Land Insights, and you have the ability to go export that data and skip trace it right away. So there's no boundaries or anything. So you can strictly go in there and export that data. So what I can do is I can go in, I can do Coffee County, Alabama. Wait, I don't think, sorry, I'm not sharing. Okay, so I can go in, I can enter the data platform. I can go Coffee County, Alabama, and I can export that if I want. But the strategy I'd be using, if I had $2,000 to my name, I want to be very, very diligent with my properties. I want to choose the best properties, and I want to target the best owners to target. So I'm not targeting people that live right next to the property. I'm not targeting people that live inside that county. I'm probably targeting people who live out of state and live outside that county that do not use that land for any reason, because they're more likely to sell because they're getting a tax bill every year and they're not using that land. Maybe it got passed down to them from a family member and they're just not using it. So I am being very targeted. So maybe I'm targeting 5 acres to 100 acres. And I'm targeting, I'm definitely using AI scrubbing. So like I said earlier in this call, 52 or was 54% of properties on average in the US are horrible properties for many reasons. one of those reasons can just crush your deal. So 54% or 52%, sorry, I keep mixing up the numbers, of your data set is just horrible. You want to remove those properties, and that's why we have AI scrubbing. Back in 2021, we did not have any of this. We would have to literally export the data and just mail all the pieces of land and sift through all the sellers who want to sell their piece of land that's in a slough that you would never be able to build on, and just bite the bullet and bite the costs with mail. But nowadays we can just remove that and target only really, really good properties. So we would be hitting vacant land AI, bad slope AI, landlock AI. We can remove HOA. We can remove wetlands and flood zones. And again, this is all available with the free account. So you'll be able to export. But the one downside to the free account is the cost of exporting the data is 10 cents per record. With the starter plan, it's $47 per month, and you get a cost saving, and it's 8 cents to export that data with $47 a month. So if you're going to export a little more, I recommend hitting that $47 a month subscription to get that data cost savings on the back end. But again, on both those plans, this is all included. So I would hit maybe a max wetland coverage of 40%. Same with flood zone, I'm going to hit 40%. So that being said, like all these properties, they all have less than 40% wetland coverage and flood zone coverage. So that on a 10-acre piece of land, at least 6 acres is going to be outside of that and likely buildable. Road frontage, that's more for subdivisions. We can target how much public or private road frontage we have, and target properties where we have a lot of road frontage and chop it up into smaller pieces of land. We also have the ability to do advanced scrubbing, so we can target how much slope we want. I usually just use the bad slope AI to remove stuff that's just too steep. It was a calculation we did, and it works really well. It's been tested many times. So I just use this AI filter. We're going to want to deduplicate owners, keep the larger piece. And then this is where I talk about the types of landowners we want to target. So if you wanted to target out-of-state owners specifically, you can do that. There's only 195 out here. I'm just going to target out of county. So this includes out-of-state owners. So there's 457 owners with really good pieces of land out here that live outside the county. So they could live in this county right here, or they could live in La Jolla, California, right? You can do ownership length. So what we noticed is a lot of the sellers, in a big case study we did, a lot of the sellers, they've owned the land for more than 5 years. So we can put in 60 months minimum here, and we can whittle down our list even more. And then we can exclude keywords of our owners, like Walmart, cemetery. You want to get a big list of owner names you would never target, because you don't want to send mail, or you don't want to cold call these people because they're too big, or maybe it's a cemetery and you don't want to buy cemetery land. So you want to make sure you build out a big list of this, and then you can export. And like I said, with the cold call strategy, you're going to want to skip trace at the export. So we can skip trace that, and we'll be able to get all those phone numbers at the export. So with the free plan, our skip trace is going to be 6 cents per skip. And then with the starter, the $47 a month plan is going to be 4 cents. So at the end of the day, if you wanted to enter this market, you have access to these AI filters that I didn't have access to in 2021. The way I jumped into this business was I literally just hit the entire market. The only filter I put was vacant land and out-of-state owner, and more than half that data set was full of useless land. And it worked in 2021 because mail wasn't as competitive. and everyone wanted to buy every deal I got. So my buy box was a lot larger back then than it is now. So if I had this back in 2021, if I had this tool back in 2021, I would have crushed back then. But you live and you learn. I had to kind of put this problem into my own hands and develop my own tool to build this. So lucky for you guys, you have access to this. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of compare and contrast what I experienced and what you guys are experiencing. So I said you guys are in a good position now because you have these tools. So yeah, again, 2K budget. You can either export this data and cold call it, or you can direct mail it. So with this county, we only have 396 parcels. So you're going to need to go choose a lot more markets. And it's best practice, especially when starting out and you have a $2,000 budget. You want to hit a lot of markets because, believe it or not, you're going to mess up and you're going to choose a bad market. No matter how much research you do, I know a lot of you guys are going to mess up. It's an art for sure, and it requires a lot of data analysis. If you don't have access to our market research tool, it's going to be very difficult. So I recommend you spend a lot of time on it and choose a lot of markets, because even if you spend a lot of time and think it's a good market, it might be a bad market. And if you put all your money into that market, you might mess up and you might be set back and lose all that money in marketing. So you want to really cast a wide net. You want to target a lot of markets throughout the country. So this is a good situation to be in. We only have 396 parcels, but that's cool because we can go in another state. We can go in a different county in this state and go export some data and market to those, so that if we mess up, we don't mess up bad because we have all these other markets we're targeting. So with direct mail, you can go this approach as well. You can also go a zip code approach without the market research tool, which you don't have with the Lite and the starter plan. It's going to be a little more difficult to do the zip code approach, so you wouldn't be able to do that. So I might kind of stick towards the county level and hit with these filters that I told you about, and that could work for you. So yeah, the whole goal with that 2K budget is you want to talk to as many sellers as possible. So like nowadays with that budget, I would probably lean towards cold call over direct mail. Just make sure you have a good dialer, like I said earlier, and try to talk to as many sellers as possible. You want to talk to a lot of sellers because you want a lot of phone numbers. With the direct mail piece, if you have $2,000 to spend, you're not going to get a whole lot of leads. So if you chose a bunch of bad markets, you might be set back. You can't target as many markets because your budget goes down because mail is expensive. So with cold call, you can target way more markets, talk to way more sellers, and make way more deals happen, and rely more on a sales skill set rather than a marketing skill set with mail. So there's more room to mess up with cold call is basically what I'm saying on that 2K budget. Okay. And again, like, you're not putting any of this money towards a deal. You do not want to put any of your money into a deal. You want to put all your money into your marketing. Okay, so let's say you get a deal. Let's say you locked up a buy for 20, sell for 40, and you got that deal. You're going to want to go hit up a funder. Again, there's many funders out there nowadays. Back in 2021, nobody marketed that they were a funder. It was very difficult to find these people. It wasn't until like late 2022 I saw people marketing themselves as funders. I saw private equity people entering the space. I saw land investors who made it big start marketing that they were funding deals. But back in like 2020, 2021, it wasn't common. You didn't really see that. So like we had to hit up friends, maybe like high paid engineers or doctors to invest in our deals. So it was more difficult. But nowadays, capital's so easily accessible. If you have a really good deal, if you have a buy for 20, sell for 40, it shouldn't be difficult to go find funding. So anyways, if you go get that deal, buy for 20, sell for 40, you might end up with taking 65, 70% of that profit. So you'll end up with like 15K in your pocket, and you would be in the same situation as I was when I started. So that kind of loops us into the next situation where we have like more than 15K budget. What I would do in this case, strategy doesn't change too much in terms of high level strategy. So again, we're not putting any of our money into deals. We do not want to do that. We don't want to put 20K into a deal to save 30% of the profit margin, because if you end up with a bad piece of land nowadays and your money's sitting out for 5 months and that was all of your money and you can't put that towards marketing, that's a massive step back. If we had all of that money to put into marketing, 15K is a lot to put into marketing, and that can be a lot of deals where you could have turned over a lot of capital. So it is not worth it at a low budget. And kind of my rule of thumb is like under 200K net worth to go fund your own deals. You should be putting that all into marketing and building your business. So that strategy does not change, but that 15 to 20K budget puts you more into a growth phase where you want to put a lot of money into all of the strategies possible that is going to grow you. So at that point, I would recommend getting into Land Insights Pro, which is the plan that exists right now. This is not the Lite or the starter plan. This is the Pro plan. So at this point, with the Pro plan, you would have access to our market research tool. You would have access to our comping tool. On the starter plan, you get like limited access to the comping tool, so you can kind of test it out. Maybe you have a couple deals come in a month. You'll be able to comp those deals, but you can't go comp a bunch because it's limited access. So we keep full access to our Pro members. So let me go over this comp tool. So if you wanted to comp this property, this is a tool that I designed after years experience in the business, and it's amazing. So this is kind of like your own insane research tool. So this property is 662 acres. We can instantly comp it, and we can see all of our active listings in the area. All these blue are actives, all the green are solds. We have AI analysis. So the tool thinks it's worth 3,100 an acre right now. And we can go test that and see what it's actually worth as well. We can do a manual comp. So right now, there's no manual comp created, but when you're doing a lot of marketing, you're gonna have a lot of deals coming through. You wanna be very accurate because you don't wanna buy it too high. If you buy it too high, that can really mess with your deal and mess with your turnover. So it's important you have access to these tools so you comp correctly. So what we can do is, it's like, hey, we can go view this property, view the pictures, view how long it took to sell. So days on market for this was 694 days, 117 acres, sold for 3,100 an acre. If we liked that, if we thought it was a good deal, obviously we'd want to go do more research on it. But if we like it, we can select it. And down here, it's going to automatically calculate the value of it. So 2.052 million. And we can just look around and keep doing that. And let's say like we thought it was worth 5,300 an acre. We can select that, and it's going to take the average. And now it thinks it's worth 4,200 an acre. And then we can see all these comps in a list. We can take notes. These notes save. We can see all the market research analysis, all the information on the property. We can even do a deep AI analysis where it performs an analysis on the property itself. It tells you, hey, this property has power lines on it. There is a Walmart down the street 2 miles away. Like, it tells you everything. So you definitely want access to this when you're getting a lot of deals coming through, because again, you don't want to mess up on comping. You want to be very conservative, and you want every tool possible that's out there so that you don't mess up. And again, Pro, you get access to market research. So you're able to do your market research process a lot quicker. save a lot of time so that you can focus all your time on sales and building your team. So, yeah. So at that point, like you're in the 15 to 20K budget. Let's say like you haven't even done a deal yet and you have that budget. I would recommend going to the pro plan instantly so that you have that instant boost. You also save money on data. The $1,500 per quarter pro plan, which is $500 a month. You get 5 cents per export. And you also have the option to upgrade to unlimited data. So at this point, I wouldn't recommend upgrading to unlimited data yet. Maybe you have like 30K in the bank. I'd recommend upgrading to unlimited data at that point. But when you're just starting out in this business, you're still testing the concept. I know in the back of your head, you're probably thinking like, does this business actually work? Do I believe everybody in this business? You got to go prove it to yourself that this business works. So I wouldn't recommend sinking it all in instantly unless you're gung-ho on growing this business, you truly believe it. But when you prove the concept to yourself, you got like 30K in the bank, go upgrade to unlimited data because you're going to save a lot of money. So unlimited data for us, it's $4,500 a year to export as many records as you want. And then also with that pro plan, it's 2 cents to skip trace your data, which is very cheap and adds up. If you're like me, you are texting 625,000 people per month. So 625,000 data points adds up. 625,000 skip traces adds up. If you weren't on an unlimited on the pro, like you would be spending a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars a year. It honestly might be more than 6 figures if you were not using unlimited data at that point. So yeah, that's kind of like the growth phase. Again, like mindset should be, I'm a marketing company. I want to become a really good marketer and a really good salesperson. And you want to get decently good at comping deals. You want to understand how to evaluate land. But at the end of the day, it's marketing, it's sales. If you can be good at that, if you can talk to sellers, talk to every seller that you get a hold of and be able to anchor them down, be able to negotiate and get a deal, it's going to work out for you. Capital's there. Don't go spend your money on a deal and put yourself at risk of having that capital out and unusable for months on end, which in turn slows down your business. So your goal should just be turn over as many properties as possible. The best way to do that, market, get a lot of deals, get outside capital. Okay. So yeah, those are the kind of the two situations, the 2K budget and like the larger budget. 2K budget, get the Lite or the starter plan with Land Insights, which is available in 2 days. Larger budget, I'd recommend starting off on the right path, have all the good market research tools, all the other tools in Pro that give you that unfair advantage in your land business. So yeah, that's where we're at here. Do I have any questions so far? I know I've gone over a lot of different things. What's up, Kay? What's up, Gene? Caroline, Chad, how you doing? So I know more people joined the call since we started in the beginning. We're giving away 3 pieces of land with this launch on our Lite and Starter plan, which is accessible to people in their first 6 months in the land business. So if you guys are interested in getting a few pieces of free land that we're giving away on the 30th, please go ahead and sign up, landinsights.co/launch. And Sumner and I will be going live. We're going to do a long live stream. It's been about a year since our last long live stream. I believe it was like 6 hours that we went live for. I don't think we'll go live that long, maybe more like 3 hours. But Sumner and I will be in one place together. We'll be in Bali together, going over both our land business and just the state of the market. So I highly recommend you guys watch since we have a really good pulse on the market right now. Mason asks, any books you'd recommend for someone starting out, whether it be business, mindset, or life itself? So one book that really changed my life, I was like 19 or 20 years old when I read this book, Millionaire Fastlane. It's a really good book about business models and shifting your mindset out of that consumer mindset into more of the business mindset. So it kind of opened my eyes. Like after reading that book, I would walk into Starbucks, like how much are they spending on this coffee and how much are they making on this coffee? How are they able to scale this business? It's very cheap for a coffee. The profit margin's not great. How are they able to scale this? I was running my surfboard business at the time, and I was doing my first land deal at the time when I read this book. And when I read that book, I was like, screw working for anybody, screw attaching time to money. Let's get outside of that. So that book, it talks a lot about kind of separating time and money. If you can separate time and money, you'll be able to grow your business. Because at the end of the day, if you're attaching time to money, you're a slave to money itself. So if you can create systems in a business that you own, the sky's the limit. You can scale it as much as you want. So when I was reading that, it's like, okay, land business lines up. The land business, I can buy land from anywhere in the world. I can pay a team and train that team to run this business, step outside that, invest all of my money into growing that business and create a really good steady cash flow. And then obviously there's way more benefits to owning a real estate business on the bottom end. You can save a lot of money on taxes. You don't even have to pay taxes if you do cost segregation, bonus depreciation on rental properties. Hence why I'm deep in trailer parks right now. It was a really good year for us last year, and we saved a lot of money on taxes by buying that real estate. So ultimately, real estate's a great business because you can step outside of time and income, and you can also avoid paying taxes and build long-term wealth. But there's also many other great business models out there, but we're all in the land space. It works really well for us. Another book I'd recommend is, what's this book called? Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic, really old book, but really good book. I recommend reading it. And I won't spoil too much for you guys, but you guys will kind of get the gist of it by the end of it. But it's all mindset. It's a mindset book. It's not necessarily a business book. It's all mindset. But at the end of the day, if you can control your mindset, if you can stay positive and consistent, you're gonna go in this business. But if you let negative thoughts enter your brain, if you let negative people enter your life, it's gonna be a step back, and it's gonna be a big hurdle to get over. Aaron asks, when cold calling, do you give a price range using the AI price valuation? You can definitely do that. You're not going to have access to that with the Lite and starter plan. That's more of a pro feature. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Or you can kind of do like a 2-call offer system where you call them, ask questions about the property, get to know them, build rapport, take notes on that person's life and why they want to sell. After that call, go comp the property, come up with the evaluation, call them back with that offer. Or on the spot, you can use the AI price valuation. Just make sure you're conservative with that offer. And yeah, do like a bigger range, because the AI could have made a mistake. Maybe the land is a more interesting piece. Maybe there's like a transmission line going through it. Maybe there's a pipeline on it that would lower the value of land. You don't want to offer too much because you might have to go back and renegotiate, which is not bad. It happens all the time in our business, but I like to hit it correct in the beginning. So that's my piece of advice. I would probably do the two call offer. but you could float numbers around. You could even ask them on that first call, hey, what are you looking to sell it for? Just to get a little baseline. And then you can look at that AI price valuation on the call and say like, hey, would you ever be open to this price? I know you wanted this much, but would you ever be open to that, just to get a feel for them so you don't waste too much time? Gene said The Richest Man in Babylon. I haven't read it, but I heard it's really good. All right, guys. So we've hit the hour mark on the call. I've actually got to run. Sumner and I are doing a little dirt bike excursion out in Bali. We've got some nice bikes. I got a KTM 300 two-stroke. I think Sumner's got a YZ 250 four-stroke. We're gonna rip through the forest today and explore the island a little bit. So I'm excited for that. But guys, appreciate you tuning in. Again, Sumner and I are going to be going live on the 30th to be giving away 3 pieces of land. So if you're interested, you want one of those 3 pieces of land, one of them in Arkansas, one in New Mexico, and one in Colorado. You need to attend that call. You need to be on that live. So make sure you go ahead and register at the link below, landinsights.co/launch. Follow the steps in order to be qualified for that piece of land and attend that call. And yeah, let's see how many days it is until we're going live with these new subscriptions. So Lite, our free plan, our free subscription, and starter, our $47 a month subscription goes live in 2 days and 16 hours. So guys, go ahead and register so that you can go hop on your subscription as soon as we launch. And I will see you guys on the live on the 30th. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in a couple days.